If you watch my videos, you would know that I always talk about legislation and how the government is going to use that to come after your XRP once the big money starts to roll in. In fact, in different governments around Europe and probably around the world, there are governments that are scrambling for new laws so that they can tax you in the maximum way possible. And if your crypto ends up not being taxable, either because you haven't sold anything or you found a way around it, you found some sort of IRA or some plan that is tax exempt for your crypto, best believe that they're thinking of ways to change some of those laws in a way that they will still be able to get at some of that wealth. Because there's no way that they're going to let us run away with this much money, especially seeing the things that are coming to the XRP ledger and how much money some of you guys are going to make. Which is why I'm giving a massive shout out to the people in Pennsylvania who have demonstrated what I call sort of people participation in government in such a way that is to our benefit and not always to the government's benefit. See, what's happening in this crypto sphere is we are leaving the legislation to the government, right? We're like sitting ducks, defenseless, and basically relying on the goodwill of the government to do no harm. But the government is going to do as much harm as it can as long as it gets its tentacles into your profits. It just is what it is. Also, the powers that be that are invested in status quo are also big lobbyists of the government. So they're going to make sure that, legislation that's passed is to their benefit, right? To maintain the status quo like it's been for centuries, especially in Europe. The reason why I'm shouting out the people in Pennsylvania is for coming up with a kind of demo strategy. I call it a proof of concept, one that we can replicate across the world. Unfortunately, not everywhere in the world has the same political system like it is in the United States, but more often than not in Europe, we can replicate some of those things, or at least find equivalents in our systems. So what I'm saying is, the example that has been laid by those in Pennsylvania that have basically crafted specific legislation to give rights to the holders of cryptocurrencies with clear, concise provisions for things like self-custody and calling these things out by name and not being ambiguous and making sure that the human right aspect of it is emphasized, because it is your human right to, at least in the United States, to progress, to pursue happiness, right? It's part of your constitutional right as an American. And this is not true in many countries of the world. In many countries of Europe, we do also have the right to try and improve ourselves and to own stuff when we can. Again, in Europe, most people don't own anything. Even if you have money, you think you own your house. The land on top of which the house is built is owned by somebody else, probably the royal family if you're in the UK, otherwise the lords and establishment people in other parts of Europe, right? But what we can do though is weaponize some of that legislation in our benefit, right? So what we need really are grassroots movements. We need also the help of companies who are invested in this technology, entities that are, crypto friendly, who have businesses that require crypto for innovation and progress. We need these guys to come together and work with favorable people in power, or, people that we put in, our MPs, members of parliament, that is in the UK, or whatever the positions of government you have in your country, to come together, organizations and companies and lawyers and people who have the expertise, sit around the round table and craft some of these laws, present them to Parliament, present them to our MPs to try and get rights, definitive rights for holders of cryptocurrencies, so that we can preempt some of these legislations that are coming through the pipe at a neck-breaking speed. It is going to be extremely important going forward for holders of XRP, especially you guys that refuse to sell. You're the ones that are going to be the subject of the legislation that's going to be coming. Like for Bitcoin holders, Ethereum holders, Cardano holders, etc., it suffices to plant adequate FUD, crash the market, whatever, to get them to sell. But you guys are so stubborn. They've tried all of that. They've tried the lawsuits. They've called you illegal. They've sent people to publish things in the news, and you guys refuse to sell your XRP, right? They've even got your Chris Larsen to jump ship, and you guys still refuse to sell. So, you've left them no option than to come after you with the law. And in order to fight this, we need to defend ourselves, and people need to start thinking about it. I'm not a legal expert, of course, so I don't know. But I can obviously participate in any think tank that actually comes up in my area, just to see what are the things that we can do within the law, within existing legislation, what are our rights as citizens of the country to protect what it is that we have, so that the powers that be don't steamroll us just because we front ran them in the first place. Not financial advice. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Really miserable out there today, but I've got my vitamin D and I'm happy as usual. Take care of yourself. Peace.